but we have Florida, Seattle, Chicago. And yes, of course, we'll have a recording, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't pay attention. If you're driving, we'll give you a pass. But the best thing to do when Dr. Myron is speaking is to have a pen and paper. Just open your mind, just kind of really pay attention. You know, everywhere he goes, he spews clinical genius. So tonight, we're really looking to give you not only clinical strategy, but also business insights. That's good. Yeah, we have a lot of people coming next week. That's great. Still time to do that. If not in California next week, for sure, we have a great flagship course in April as well in Florida. We got a couple more minutes before we hit the green button. So if you got other interests here, we're looking for who are you, where are you from, and what on earth are you doing here tonight? Okay, what are you interested in or looking forward to? What would you like to learn or gather? What was curiosity that you had when you read this invitation? In New Zealand, coming up for the course in March in Boston. All right, great stuff. Well, we're going to come in Boston and take it home to New Zealand. Boy, they're going to love it over there. Who else do we have here? So far, let's see, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4. We're like 6 or 8 countries. We've now just officially covered every single inch of Chicago. So I think we have the Southwest, the Northwest, the downtown, the East-West. Well, that's not a thing. So we got everybody. Oh, we just added South Africa. This is fun. Kansas. It's 1 minute till go time. We have just a hungry group right here. Central Coast. Well, my good buddy, Dr. Ramreel. Hey, so you can change the name there. There we go. We got some people. If your name says May Jean, I don't think we have 42 May Jeans on here tonight. So I think you can probably change your name. You got a master link, which is fine. As long as you're here, we don't really care what your name is, as long as you're here. Okay, what else? We got Dr. Chang's got some good stuff going on already, wants to learn some more. Got Bermuda, now we're talking. Dr. Landy. All right. Well, I know you well. I know you well. So happy you're here. And Trinidad, Tobago. I'm not even sure I can't even pronounce all these things. Hey, we are at the top of the hour. It is 8 p.m. Eastern time, and it is a different time in many other places around the globe. We are so excited to have you here tonight. It is really my great privilege to introduce not only the topic tonight, but more importantly, the man who created it. So before I do that, though, I just want to say congratulations. You are so smart to be here. We love ambitious doctors. There's 99% of our great industry, which is a wonderful place. They're all just mediocre, though. They stay the same. They're complacent. They very, very seldom get outside the box, let alone do anything transformative. A lot of doctors like CE. They like technology. They like the bright, shiny objects. But once in a while, I would say in a generation, maybe in 100 years, I don't know, there's something that innovates and disrupts an industry like never before. Of course, we had the internet, we have AI, we have Amazon. That was probably the biggest disruptor. But in dentistry today, there is one major disruptor that is elevating the game. It's taking dentistry from a commodity to something that patients are rabid for, cash paying patients. And in today's market, I want to tell you why you're so smart to be here, other than just listening to the man, is because consumer spending is growing in one single category greater than every other category on earth. There's one single category, and that category is what I call aspirational. It's all about longevity. It's about quality of life. It's about health enhancement. Every place, in every city, there's sauna and IV and massage. There are so many innovations around health. There are memberships upon memberships. And Dr. Richard Myron has created regenerative dentistry that is innovating the space. It's decommoditizing what you do, and it's taking you to a status of true enhancement for longevity. Okay. When you think of alternative medicine, supplements, biohacking, it's very simple. These are the spaces that consumer dollars are going. There's no sector in consumer spending greater than this one right here. Not only the clinical master, but a person who has developed a tried and true, proven business model that you can plant inside of your practice, and it completely transforms. It makes your current patients worth more, and it attracts patients you never would have gotten otherwise. It's so important, okay, that you are here tonight. So I just want to say congratulations to you and thank you very much. Now, without further ado, I want to introduce you to a man who has become one of my best friends, a person who I admire so much. And I do it not just because he is like, I call him the Elon Musk of dentistry. He's probably tired of hearing it. But you know, now Elon's everywhere. So he say, you know, he's pretty good company. Yeah, but I will tell you this. The number one thing I love about Dr. Myron is he leads by example. He never stops innovating. He's a tenacious implementer. He will say that he's just a researcher. Well, let me tell you, he's that and so much more. But lucky for you, he is a researcher, and he has innovated technologies and clinical protocols that have increased the effectiveness and efficacy of dentistry, of patient outcomes. But he didn't stop there. He created a system that would allow you to generate reoccurring revenue, to attract cash paying patients, and to literally transform your practice, no matter where you are today, to something even greater. And by the way, maybe a lot more fun than just crowns and fillings. So I want to just tell you, please listen up and get ready for great takeaways, powerful inspiration, and a proven plan to transform your practice in the year 2025 and set you on a trajectory you've never imagined. Please welcome Dr. Richard Myron.
Alrighty. Thanks, Scott, for the introduction. I'm going to try and hype myself up as much as you, and it's not particularly my style, but always love your introductions. And likewise, you know, it's been a lot of fun to work together over the years. And we'll also share with people kind of the upcoming plan and the new blueprint book that we've written for people that are on a transformation to join Care Aesthetics and to make this implementation a lot smoother with a step-by-step guideline on how this was done. You know, everybody, so to speak, I mean, there's people around the world literally that are on this call, which is always surprising for me, you know, how people have heard about me, but all of it is through my publications. I mean, we are a very hardcore basic research team that has done a lot of work with understanding platelet-rich fibrin. I was very honored that Quintessence had asked me to be the first leader to write this book when this technology became more and more prominent. So, you know, a lot of people follow our protocols. A lot of people have read many of our research papers from around the world. But, you know, there was one unique thing that in clinical practice that not only made my life a lot easier, but also made it a lot more fun. And that was learning from plastic surgeons like Catherine Davies, et cetera, on how dentists could start to incorporate facial aesthetics into their everyday dental practice. And for me, like I said, being a hardcore basic researchers working with cells, doing many animal studies, you know, I had the privilege of working with many people that have transformed the way that I practice dentistry. I will share stories with what happened with Dr. Canner specifically in his practice while I was working as an associate. And the story and the know-how really transformed, you know, my whole life actually. And I believe today it's transformed many of our care aesthetic doctors. So we have a network of exclusively for dentistry and exclusive to dentists, a partnership amongst many people from around the United States. And now it's getting more and more international where we are trying to take over this very big industry of facial aesthetics using more natural approaches and using safer, more effective treatments that don't make people look fake, such as using fillers and Botox. And I'm going to share with everybody that story. This book was written in partnership with Scott. And for those that stay on for the webinar, we'll give you guys access to a copy of this book where we can send it to you guys. We give them out for free. I think it's so transformative for the people that have followed us and kind of share experiences. So for those that are in the United States that would like a copy of this book, we would be more than happy to send you guys one. Um, it all started for me when I moved to the United States. In the US, it's very different than other countries. A lot more opportunity. I've worked as a dentist in 5 different countries, and it made the most sense to work at least a day or two a week in private practice, literally just to earn a decent salary. And so university salaries are not the norm. We get paid literally 10 times, and I'm not over exaggerating, it's 10 times less than most people in private practice. And so having the opportunity to meet somebody like Dr. Canner, who has a nice practice with 16 ops in Florida, nearby where I was living, to go there and become the periodontist that was doing the work out of his practice was a lot of fun. And throughout my time, what had happened was Dr. Canner, who's a dentist of a dentist of a dentist, so he comes from a, generation after generation of dentists. They built up like this big family business where, it was one of the biggest practices on the whole west coast of Florida. And his daughter is a dentist as well, and she's one of my good friends. She actually wrote the one of the book chapters in Understanding Platelet-Rich Fibrin and is a full-time academic. And she said, "Why don't you come work with my dad? Instead of working at the university 1 or 2 days a week, we make way more money going to private practice. You get to experience what it's like to treat real patients and make a real living, and it's a good idea to do that 1 or 2 days a week." And through many discussions with Dr. Canner and through meeting Catherine Davies, who's a plastic surgeon, who was one of the first pioneers to incorporate PRF and facial aesthetics. So she had been a PRP trainer for 14 years. Believe it or not, this person from, at the time, she was doing a fellowship in Greece, in Athens, from South Africa. She flew from halfway across the world to take a dental course on PRF to learn from my research team. And so we found it very odd that we had this plastic surgeon in the course. She just wanted to learn protocols. She had understood that platelet concentrates and PRP was invented by a dentist, Bob Marks, in Miami. She understood that dentists had pioneered most of this field. She understood that all of the top researchers, and you can look in academic rankings, they're all dentists. And our University of Bern is ranked #1 on that list. And so, after a few months of her ordering several thousands of tubes, we launched the very first PRF and facial aesthetics course that she was the lead trainer for in the United States. And it was one of our most popular sold out courses. I attended the course. I knew nothing about facial aesthetics. She talked about doing something as simple as a vampire facial, microneedling with PRF. I was shocked to learn that this very simple procedure that takes about 15 minutes, patients were paying $700 for this treatment. And on top of that, 100% of the treatment could be delegated to a dental assistant, which means that if I was to offer these services in our practice, not only could Dr. Canner and I make, more money, but we didn't even have to do anything. And these patients were coming back, just like for Botox, every 4 to 6 months to do another treatment. And this was recurring revenue. Only this time it was all profit. So, years had passed by. I've been working with Dr. Canner since 2018. It became a bigger and bigger portion of our practice. At the beginning, it was just, hey, let's have fun on a Friday once a month. Let's have a full schedule of facial aesthetics. Of course, the staff, as you can imagine, mostly female, were the dental assistants and hygienists. They loved it. It was great for practice morale. They would want to do treatments. They were talking about it to patients all the time. And so we just got busier and busier until the point where we realized that, this could become a big portion and a big profit center for Dr. Canner in his practice prior to selling it. And so I was part of that experience over the last 6 years. Part of that was watching Dr. Canner actually sell his quite big practice to a DSO, and just kind of how they calculate EBITDA and the whole story related to that, which I'll talk a little bit about. But in a nutshell, we had done this work. The dental space has pioneered every single one of these evolutions in platelet concentrates. So a lot of people are unaware of that, but every major breakthrough that has ever been created for PRP or PRF has been pioneered by dentists. And the amazing thing is, and I always say this, there's two fields of medicine that actually made platelet concentrates very popular. And the first was orthopedic surgeons. They had these $20 million a year pro athletes. They have a meniscus tear. They're out for 6 months. We know this is related to low blood flow. So all of a sudden in medicine, they took this technology created by dentists and they said, let me inject this platelet concentrate stuff, this PRP, into my pro athlete's knee. If it's working so well around bone grafting materials, et cetera, in dentistry, and we know that blood flow is really important for healing, and we know that knees in particular are very vascular and they take forever to heal. Let's inject PRP into these pro athletes' knee. And they started to heal after, 3, 4 months and half the time. And when that happened, that made major news, right? Your professional athletes are now back on the playing field. Your $20 million a year athletes back on the playing field. This is huge news. And the other area that really made huge news, even bigger news, I would say, is facial aesthetics. And what had happened is there was a doctor, they were doing microneedling. Everybody had done that with vitamin C and hyaluronic acid. Those are the common occurring microneedling agents, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But essentially, what it is it's like getting a tattoo on your skin. If you put ink in your skin, it stays there forever if you put the ink at a depth of 1.5 millimeters. Well, years ago they thought, why not do the same thing? Instead of giving somebody a permanent tattoo, why don't we actually put something very healthy for the patient, something that will rebuild collagen, such as vitamin C? And so we know vitamin C helps make collagen. So they started to say, why not just tattoo basically vitamin C into the skin? And that's what was done. But now there's specialized devices called the dermapen, so on and so forth. So it was an interesting field. Well, when this PRP field started to boom, one doctor, very well known, he said, why don't I start microneedling PRP into the skin? He did many, many split face studies, one side microneedling with vitamin C, one side microneedling with PRP. The PRP side in every single study that's ever been performed showed much better results. He called it creatively vampire facial. Next thing you know, Kim Kardashian, Jennifer Lopez, these types of celebrities, they start doing this vampire facial. They're posting to social media. I always joke around now, next thing you know, every female above the age of 20 years old wants to do these treatments. And that's how, this whole field became very, very popular. Um, we work very closely, and we'll share this in the courses. For those that take our more advanced courses, you will meet this gentleman. This is the U.S. Olympic orthopedic surgeon. And he's one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. He's done 25 years of university. He's published 7 textbooks, many hundreds of articles. And today was elected to be head of orthopedic surgery for the U.S. Olympic team. He treats many, many pro athletes. And he learned, years ago how important the body was for healing and how our body has an intrinsic ability to heal itself. And you can see here, he wrote Dear Talek Family. These are 2 professional golfers. In fact, one of them won a gold medal at the Olympics. She had spinal issues and spinal tears. You are the PRF that holds us together. He had treated a lot of these pro athletes. And we actually asked Dr. Talek, he lectures at all of our advanced regenerative courses. So for those that take, for example, our advanced facial aesthetics courses, he gives a 2-hour lecture on really understanding how we can use the body's intrinsic factors, use PRF to really help professional athletes, facial aesthetics, sexual wellness is being used, dermatology applications, scars, burn victims. These are all things that we can use this technology, and he gives a really nice lecture on understanding all that. The one thing that Scott had mentioned, which was really, really shocking for me to learn actually from a lot of people working in facial aesthetics, being a periodontist and wanting to do a lot in the implant dentistry world, I was shocked to learn that the dental implant market was a $4.6 billion a year industry growing at 9% per year, whereas all of dentistry was 25 billion, growing at 6.7% per year. And then all of a sudden comes this facial aesthetic market of 31 billion, growing at 21% per year, going to 119 billion. And these were the numbers side by side. It's amazing to me to think that just Botox alone has already surpassed the entire dental implant market in the entire world. And most of this Botox is being used where? Obviously in the country that I live in the United States. But it's expected that Botox market is going to reach $15 billion in 5 years from now. You know, that's literally 3 times the size of all of implant dentistry around the world. And when you see these numbers side by side, it's actually shocking to see how, you know, where the future is going, where we are today, and to see that this facial aesthetic field has so many more dollars that are spent in it compared to implant dentistry. So one of the things that I had realized very early was that when I moved to the United States, I started to see a lot of dental colleagues fighting with one another, especially in implant dentistry. I started to see a lot of lawsuits, and I would get asked to even serve as an expert witness on some of these board cases in Florida where, you know, a general practicing dentist placed an implant, maybe made a mistake, but now it's actually an oral surgeon that is going after his own colleague because the field is so competitive. There's not a lot of money. And, you know, now this field of implants is oversaturated with periodontists, oral surgeons, prosthodontists, even endodontists now place implants. And then you have your super GPs that are all placing implants, all of this for a $5 billion a year industry. And then when we look at the facial aesthetic field, and yes, PRF is very much utilized in this implant dentistry world, there's no question. But, you know, Forbes actually said that the two growing trends in facial aesthetics in 2025 in this big industry, the two most growing trends named by Forbes. Number one, PRF. Number two, exosomes. And I was amazed by that because these were two fields that I don't want to say I dominated, but I had done a major amount of research that was well known internationally. I was like, my God, I'm using these exosomes, I'm using this PRF in this tiny little implant dentistry world. Why are we not doing more in this space here? And so, you know, I took a lot of education, weekend courses, etc. And I realized how easy it was to do these procedures compared to implant dentistry, number one, and perio. But more importantly, I realized that I didn't have to compete anymore against oral surgeons and other periodontists and these super GPs, etc. I realized that the majority of people in the United States that are doing facial aesthetic procedures are nurses and physician assistants. And nobody will ever convince me that a nurse or physician assistant knows more about facial anatomy or how to perform injections than a dentist. And so knowing that, and then, you know, we are quite international, taking courses around the world, um, and doing courses around the world. In a lot of countries, it's forbidden for nurses to do Botox. In a lot of countries in Europe, they do not allow that. They think it's crazy. Yet I come back to the United States and, you know, for whatever reason, especially let's say 10 years ago, some patients thinks it's crazy that a dentist is doing Botox. But then I would ask the patients questions. I would say, well, why do you think that's crazy, right? Why do you think it's crazy for a dentist to want to do this? Why do you think it's normal for a nurse to do it? I said, a nurse has almost no education in facial anatomy. They go to school for 4 years. We go to school for 8 years. I said, we spent a whole semester doing cadaver, facial anatomy, cadaver. We do thousands of injections in these complex dark areas in the oral cavity. Do you really think that a nurse is more qualified to do your lip fillers or your cheek fillers or your this or that? And the patients would think about that for half a second. They say, you know what, doc, I never really thought about that. And then we would introduce doing, especially these all natural therapies like PRF, like lasers that dentists has been dominating and have the best technology out there. You know, it really became a fascinating thing where we started to do more and more of these treatments. So that's basically how it got started. And the other thing that I learned directly from Allergan, because I have taken enough Botox filler courses, et cetera, was that the actual cost of Botox is so expensive and it goes up and it continues to go up and it's not going to stop. Like I said, They have Allergan has a $15 billion a year industry, and they've just said like we're gonna bring the price of Botox from $2 a unit to 3 to 4. Nowadays, it's $5.50 the average sold price of Botox. We charge $12 a unit, but look at the overhead cost. And the same thing with fillers. The overhead cost is very, very high. And Allergan has published some work that states that the average person gets 40 units of Botox every 4 months and 2 syringes of fillers. And the average amount, on average, that the patient spends per year is close to $3,000 per year. So this is the market here in the United States. This is what people spend. When a patient starts doing Botox, they're pretty much hooked for the rest of their lives. So they're going to be doing Botox for the rest of their lives. And at Dr. Canner's practice, we just developed a strategy that said, what if we can start to take these patients that are spending $3,000 per year every year, right? Every year. And instead of just doing Botox and fillers, what if we can convert them to do more natural therapies that are going to be healthier for the patients, that are going to be better for their skin, that are going to be safer for us, and that are not going to make people look, quote unquote, botched over time? What if we could start doing these treatments? And that's we set out to perform this, test it, and did a lot of work with lasers and Pure F. And lasers are just an amazing, amazing thing because these lasers literally cost nothing once they're paid for. We could power them up, use them. And the nice thing was, Dr. Canner at the time, he had two Photona lasers there already paid for. He had them for 4 or 5 years. And there's all these built-in protocols from this $100,000 laser that we can use in an all-natural way that costs us literally nothing, apart from whatever the power costs, but very minimal expenses. And we started to do laser treatments in combinations with PRF and biofillers, and that's how it got started. Dr. Davies here, she's the first author on this book, as a plastic surgeon, did an amazing job writing this book. She was so thrilled to write this book with our team. And, chapter 8 on injection techniques with PureF is the best chapter in the book that she wrote through and through. She developed a lot of the protocols on how to safely inject PureF to regenerate skin. This became more and more popular as the years go on. When we talk about microneedling, it's just such a simple procedure. I mean, for those that are taking our course next week, there's no chance that you will leave there on Saturday and not know how to do this procedure. I mean, it's so safe and so easy that it can actually be done by a dental assistant. And this is a $700 treatment in the United States. It costs us $30 to perform. All the material costs once you have the DermaPen device, which is one of my favorite devices in the world because literally you buy it for a little over $3,000, and then it costs $30 for cases. You delegate the whole thing to a dental assistant. She loves doing it way more than doing dentistry. And you're bringing in this passive income that people are spending twice per year, 3 times per year. They're doing these treatments that are all delegated. Dr. Canner, what he did, which was really creative, he called, our practice, we had like a dental hygiene section and we had a skin hygiene section. And he would try and to get some of these females that were coming in every 6 months to do dental hygiene. He said, well, why not do dental hygiene first? And then with the hygienist, do skin hygiene right after. You do dental hygiene, you're making almost no money. The same hygienist does skin hygiene, does the microneedling. Maybe I go in, I have to do a couple little injections, very easy to do. And, all of a sudden we have a nice profit center. And the more people that start doing this and talk about it, et cetera, of course, this can become a very, very big and very profitable part of your practice. And I'll share a little bit later the story with Dr. Canner. Dr. Canner, he had a practice that was doing $4.5 million when I first went there of dental, and he had an EBIT of, average 500,000, 600,000, as you would expect from a practice that size. Well, we had built it up and he started doing marketing, and I'll talk about Esthetics. We ended up, by the time he sold to a DSO, we ended up doing about $1.1 million in facial aesthetic treatments out of the practice. But the difference was, even after paying me as an associate, there's almost no overhead. And there was more than 50% profit on those treatments. So the EBITDA on this treatment was, 50% or more, especially when we used it with lasers. And by the end of it, The EBITDA of the practice generated about $550,000 of extra EBITDA, literally doubled the practice worth and value simply by incorporating facial aesthetics. And this was very easy. We were doing this, at the later days in the week, the Thursdays and Fridays, and it was just amazing to see
sterile
uh,
needle. I always
how this is done. So just microneedling, just to go over this for those that really want to learn how to do this. These are funny little videos on YouTube, but I always say, a lot of these YouTube videos have been watched literally millions of times. That's how interested the population is in these types of treatments. This video here, I downloaded off YouTube's 1 million views. How does it work? You first apply the Pure F on the skin, and then you have this little microneedling pen that's going to
microneedle is
push the product into the skin. And that's all that's being done here. So you've got this little pen and you have different depth gauges. We apply numbing cream on the patient's skin so they're not going to feel anything. And you just push the Pure F into the skin like you would push ink into the skin. But this is all good stuff for you and helps with healing. And so that's how it's done. She's actually one of these Instagram influencers. I mean, I don't even know what that means, but people follow people like her. She's in her mid 40s and you can tell she's got great skin. And she talks about the benefit of microneedling and doing these types of services. So that's the most basic thing you can do. The DermaPen is a $3,000 device. It costs $30 per patient. We charge $700 for it. Some people charge even more than that, depending on where you're living. And these are cases, the patients are taught you do a series of 2 to 3 treatments about a month apart, and we can really improve the fine lines and textures of patients by simply doing this treatment. That is 100%, we're delegating this to our dental assistants. These are forehead lines, etc. And we have acne, which is an active infection. For those that use Pure F in dentistry, we all know that we have lower rates of infections when we incorporate Pure F. Well, same thing on the skin. And I always say for young people, for teenagers, before we ever put these patients on Accutane and other drugs, it's certainly worthwhile. I mean, if I had a daughter this age with acne, before I would put her on acne, I would certainly buy a $3,000 microneedling device. Some of these chemicals, such as Accutane, very, very tough on the body. And we can just draw some blood, microneedle it in, get them fully numb. And this is after 3 treatments here of microneedling with Pure F, specifically from the leukocyte layer. The one big breakthrough, I would say, in this space has been the ability to create the biofiller. And
so we're just going to do a little video.
The biofiller here is denaturization of albumin. If you have not learned about this in any of our lectures or courses or not read the papers, we're basically cooking the plasma layer, the albumin, and transforming Pure F that lasts 2 weeks typically to something that lasts 4 to 6 months. And we can now use these as biological fillers. So it literally looks like fat tissue. It's great to use in facial aesthetics. You could not cause vascular occlusions. It's very, very safe. And this allows dentists to be able to use these with limited experience, inject into the face. It is fully, fully safe. It's part of your own body. You can't be allergic to your own blood. And we can create a biofiller that is 100% natural that will last half a year, just like Botox will. And so in our courses with Dr. Davies, who's really pioneered a lot of these technologies, we often combine these with lasers. So there's all these laser treatments that we teach as well in the courses, which make things pretty much low cost. We'll talk about the costs in a little bit, but these types of patients here are patients that we've treated all naturally. I mean, there's not a single chemical. This is one that I personally treated with Dr. Dabaccio. He and I did this case actually together, and not a single chemical, no Botox, no fillers. This treatment cost under $50 to perform. And this patient gladly paid $1,400 for that treatment. It's a combination of lasers and Pure F. It takes us about 1 hour to perform it in the office. We call it a biocare. And we can do, 2 or 3 of these treatments on a person like this. They are very happy to look much younger without a single chemical in their face. And I always tell other dentists, like, if this is you and you're 50 years old plus, What would you rather do? Would you rather have all these chemicals in your face, or would you rather do it this way? If this was my mom, for instance, who's 72 years old, like I'm not going to put a bunch of fillers, synthetic fillers and Juvederm and Restylane in her face just because she wants to look 5 or 10 years younger. You know, there's technology today that exists that we can certainly make people look younger in much safer ways and better ways. And so this is where the trends are going in facial aesthetics. Now, when we had created these biocare protocols, it was actually interesting. It was Dr. Canner used to come to our big facial courses. So for those that are going to be in California, you're going to see it's a big course. And we would teach that way 2, 3 times a year. We do these big courses, always in California or in Florida. Those are the two most popular states to do these treatments. Some people think, oh, I can't do these treatments because I'm a dentist in California. There's ways around that. You find a medical director that lives 100 miles from you. We help with that. I mean, it's very, very straightforward. In fact, California, which is one of the strictest states, we have the most care clinics in California apart from Florida. So those are our top two states. And those are the two places we run these courses because obviously in these two areas, there's a very high aesthetic demand. But I don't care where you live in the United States, in every single state, there are people doing Botox in every city in America. This is a $15 billion a year industry. Implants are five. So there's literally 3 times more people doing Botox today across the United States than all the implants that are being placed across the country. And it's recurring revenue, which means that when that person starts, like if you're going to do a sinus grafting procedure, if you've done it well, you do it one time. You make great money. It's fun. I love doing surgery. It's fun, but it's one time. There are much more significant complications doing sinus grafting than Botox or especially these biofillers, etc. And when I've done that sinus grafting procedure and it's well done, I will never do that procedure ever again on that patient. Whereas when this patient comes in and wants to do a combination of laser therapy and facial aesthetics with PRF and biofillers, they want to keep doing these treatments over and over and over and over again. And so having that experience and learning this in 2018 and 19 and being successful with it, in the year 2021, Dr. Cantor was at a course and he said to me, he's like, Rick, we need to stop just doing these big facial aesthetic courses. It's great. We got 50 people here. We show them how to do microneedling, etc. But in our office, like I'm literally making an extra $1 million per year, of which 500,000 of that is pure profit. For the people that are serious, let's also bring them to my office in a second course. Small group, let's run it on a Monday, Tuesday. I want to show them how to run their business, how to run a dental practice, incorporating facial aesthetics, how to do the marketing, how to talk to patients, all this stuff. I said, Dr. Cantor, that's a great idea. And it would be great if we can show our colleagues how to do this because I was just witnessing this guy that was doubling the value of his practice very easily. The guy had been a dentist of a dentist of a dentist. I mean, if anybody knew how to run a dental practice effectively, it was this guy. He sold a single practice, one practice for $10 million because the EBITDA was so high in the practice. And a lot of that was from facial aesthetics. So having experienced that, we said, all right, let's show how we can do this. Let's showcase exactly what we're doing, how we can get patients to convert from Botox and fillers to more natural therapies. And people would come to the practice. We were Lakewood Ranch Dental. We created what's called care aesthetics. One day I was with Dr. Cantor, this was back in 2020, and I said, we should not be Lakewood Ranch Dental advertising Botox and PRF and laser therapy for facial aesthetics. It sounds kind of funny. What if we just rebrand? And so we thought about it for a little while. We created the Center for Advanced Rejuvenation and Aesthetics. We called it Care Aesthetics. It had a nice ring to it. We didn't change the practice. It's not like we built a new med spa in the dental practice. We just said, all right, we're going to start doing facial aesthetics on Thursdays and Fridays in these two treatment rooms. We did not change the dental chairs. We didn't make it dolled up. We didn't put flowers. We just, we're experts in head and neck anatomy. And we just said, let's start doing them out of these two rooms. And our marketing was more, we call it sexier for facial aesthetics, but we started doing that. It became very, very successful. We then had dentists coming directly to our practice on a working day, Monday, Tuesday. They would see what we were doing. We would show them how to use the lasers with Pure F. And many of these dentists would say, you know, Dr. Canner, I want to do exactly like you're doing. I'm at the tail end of my career. Like, if I can do like you did and use this as a springboard and make my practice a lot more valuable, like I'd be all in. Do you mind if I just like recreate what you've done? And do you mind if I just like copy you? And Dr. Canner and I just sat there one day and we were looking at each other and we said, you know, nobody's going to really compete with us down here in Florida. I mean, all these people from all over the country are coming to the office. And we said, sure, you know, we thought about creating a franchise, but the franchise was going to be way too expensive and hold us liable for this and that. And I said, I don't want all these headaches. I'm already too busy. And so all it is a license of marketing material. And you get a protected territory in your city. And for those, the dentists that wanted to potentially do these treatments, we just said, you know what? We figured out the go button. I mean, we've been doing this now for 5 years and 7 years total. You know, 2 years facial aesthetics without care aesthetics, 5 years care aesthetics was created 5 years ago. And we said, we figured out how to do this very successfully out of a dental practice. Let's give these dentists the playbook to do this. And many of these practices have now made well over $1 million of extra revenue, and which is not a huge number because certainly all you guys can certainly do that in your practices. But the difference here is that 50% or more of this is pure EBITDA. And that is unheard of in dentistry. And on top of that, when you create this model where you have $1 million a year, it's recurring revenue. You don't need to go out and chase the next sinus grafting procedure and the next dental implant. These are patients that are going to be coming back routinely. And so it's been a really fun journey to be part of that. And so today, very happy to say we have 256 clinics across the country. And through collaborations with a lot of these other dentists, this is exclusive for dentistry only. We've been able to share cases. You know, if you think, hey, if I tell, you know, 250 clinics, send me your best before and after photos, send me only 4 before and afters, we generate 1,000 before and afters. And we put it in a portal system like a Dropbox, but it's specifically designed for care aesthetics. We share testimonials before and afters. We've got hundreds of hours of procedural videos, hundreds of marketing videos. You know, we just collaborate as dentists. And we just said, all these dentists that join, we said, you know what? Implant dentistry is $5 billion. We're all fighting like crazy. Facial aesthetics, 100 billion. We need to start taking more of that industry and bringing extra money, extra dollars into the dental profession. It's been a lot of fun, been a good journey. That's what the book that Scott and I had pioneered together really focuses on. And so for those that are interested, I'm just going to be another 5-10 minutes here. We have created a system where for those that are excited, for those that want to potentially do something a little different, make some extra money, we have created, you know, care aesthetics. How do you join? We have 3 courses. You can join at any point after completing the first course. And when that's completed, you get your reserved territory. We find out if your territory is still available. The first course, we teach how to do microneedling with Pure F. We teach how to make biofillers. We teach where to inject biofillers, etc. The second course is in my office. So that's where we call this course here now, Follow the Experts. That was Dr. Canner that named it, where you're going to shadow us on a Monday, Tuesday. We're going to teach you about the business of doing this and how to combine these services with lasers. And the third course, which is primarily taught by Catherine Davies, that's her right there, the plastic surgeon, that's how to inject into danger zones. So, for example, under the eyes or nasolabial folds, etc., it teaches how to do more advanced injection techniques. And so that's that. The first course is the one that most people would start with. It's a lot of fun. It's 2 days of lectures and demos, and the last day is entirely hands-on. We've been running it at hotels. We basically convert an entire ballroom this size into, it looks like a dental clinic. We bring in 30 aesthetic chairs, 30 centrifuges, 30 bioheats, 30 of everything, and we bring in 30 educators, and we just do treatments the entire day. On the last day, everybody gets to practice. In fact, the hotels that we run them at, they know us, and the staff of the hotel will literally line up and we can do, I don't want to say an unlimited amount of treatments, but we have just an unlimited amount of patients and that want these treatments. They're all natural, very, very safe. And so dentists will practice on each other, on staff members. We'll grab hotel staff that want treatments done, etc. So a lot of fun if you want to bring in, your wife, your mother, your sister, you could certainly do treatments on them there as well. So that's basically how the course works. Naturally, you're going to get a protected territory for those that join. And Lauren, who's on here, if anybody wants to know, you can definitely reach out to Lauren and she will give you access to forms for care aesthetics to see if your territory is available. And just go ahead in the chat and just write to Lauren, say, hey, I'm interested, and maybe give your email and she can reach out to you. The Dropbox folder is probably the most invaluable thing that we have part of care aesthetics. We've been doing it for 5 years. We got every single form, marketing material, etc. We have advanced software. We have apps that you can download on your phone and use. I mean, it's really been something that we've done a lot of work with over the years, which has been very, very exciting. Nowadays, we started with 26 branded emails that you would get to send to customers. Nowadays, we've got hundreds of emails. You can send them out weekly to your current population. You already have thousands of patients. And for sure, many of your patients are doing Botox and fillers and this and that in other places. So why not have them do it in your own practice? It's just about presenting yourself as an expert. You can't just send out an email that says, hey, we do Botox now. It needs to look good. It's got to be professional. And all of these emails that are routinely sent out sends the message to your patients that says, we're doing this properly. We've got great branding. It's very, very well done. It's been successful in many of our practices. So that's kind of the benefit of joining. And we have many, many different trifolders, everything from biofillers to care aesthetics to biocare treatments to acne treatments to, you name it, laser treatments, etc. That's all part of what we do. So, we've set up, like I said, 250 plus clinics across the country so far. We've been responsible for training them at our headquarters. It's been a lot of fun over the years to be part of this. Made a lot of friends. We run a annual care aesthetic symposium where we bring everybody back. And great thing is we're all dentists, just like everybody else in this room. We're all trying to just be a little better, maybe make your life a little easier. Maybe you will only do this on Fridays, one day a week, but you know what? You can make a lot of extra money. I always tell dentists, like, you just need to find 100 patients that want to do these treatments. They're spending $3,000 per year. So if you only find 100 patients, which is not that hard, that's $300,000 a year that you'll make every single year for the rest of your life. And you can do that just on a Friday. Most of that is going to be pure profit. Okay. There's nothing else in dentistry that you can do that's like that. And so we've set up with a lot of clinics. It's been a lot of fun to learn about it. Of course, you get all these branded business cards and emails. Everything's to your name, etc. We get patient books, etc. So it's been a lot of fun to be part of this and see this kind of materialize. As I said in the portal, we have a lot. Every lecture we've ever given is recorded. There's hundreds of hours of videos. There's procedural videos. There's before and after photos that you can use, custom graphics. So there's really a lot that's available there. And when we look back to the average yearly spend of a patient, which is as follows, and this is published by Allergan, when you actually look at what we do in my practice and what we did with Dr. Canner, we started to combine 5 treatments: intraoral lasering, laser peel, microneedling with PRF, vampire facial, papule injections, okay, and biofillers. That treatment is 5 treatments that the companies tell you should charge anywhere from $500 to $700 each. So we would tell the patients, look, you're getting like $3,000 a treatment. If we do it all in the same session, it'll take us 1 hour or less. We'll charge you $1,400. You need to do this treatment every 6 months. Patient says, wow, I've done a laser peel before. I've done a vampire facial before. So now we stack these treatments together. We get better results for our patients. We charge twice per year, $1,400. They still spend the same amount of money. But the difference is when you look at the actual cost of this treatment, you don't even spend $50. So there's no more 50% overhead. This overhead is nothing. And the amazing thing about this that I love the most, I can delegate all the blood draws as long as my assistants are phlebotomy certified. They can do all the blood draws, which takes 5 minutes. They can do all the spinning, which takes 8 minutes. They can make all the biofillers, which takes 10 minutes. They can do all the microneedling, which takes 10 minutes. I just need to do the lasers and I need to do the injections, and that's less than half the treatment. So not only am I able to generate this kind of revenue, but I'm delegating literally half the procedure or more to my assistants who, in a perio practice, you can imagine are going to be a lot more excited to do facial aesthetics than to just pass me perio instruments all day, every day. Um, so it's been a lot of fun to incorporate that. So I always tell people, like I said, for those that would like to learn more, like I said, just send some info. We'll send you a copy of the book. We're just about wrapped up here. Huge opportunities here. Like I said, I learned a lot from Dr. Canner, and I always have to give him credit. In fact, the new care book I dedicated to him because of the fact that, without him, there's no way I would have done this on my own, number one. And number two, I wouldn't have even thought about, all these opportunities that could be created from doing this. And more importantly, helping all these dentists, making their lives easier, making their practices more valuable, making their life more enjoyable, making their staff relationships more enjoyable. I mean, just being able to offer these services on your staff, like we can treat our staff, we do it every 6 months on a Saturday. I say anybody that wants to come in and do treatments, this is like staff appreciation day. It gives us a lot of practice doing whatever treatments we want to learn how to do. Everybody's going to volunteer for doing these treatments, as you can imagine. And it's just really good for practice morale as well. What we created in Dr. Cantor's practice, and this is what he always said to me, this was the goal. The goal was if we know the patients are spending $3,000 a year, he said to me, Dr. Myron, do you think that amongst all these patients you're seeing in implant dentistry or the practice is seeing, do you think that you can find 300 such patients that are going to spend $3,000 per year? Because if you can do that, you're going to create a $900,000 of recurring revenue in my practice. You're basically going to be generated one extra $1 million, but that $1 million is going to be every single year for the rest of our lives. And I said, Dr. Cantor, I don't think this is going to be too hard. I mean, I live in Florida. By that time when he asked me that question, we probably already had 50 to 100 patients doing this routinely. Every single 6 months they were coming back. And I was like, if we actually put marketing dollars into this and talk about it a little more, et cetera, I said to him, I said, I don't think we're going to have a problem doing this. I mean, vampire facials are getting more and more popular. I'm like, we as dentists are the experts in the space. Like all I got to do is convince the patient. We've written books, about this stuff. I said, this should be straightforward. And so that's exactly what we've done. And, we have the know-how now. We understand how important it is to put up these banners, to look professional. And that's the ability to join Care Aesthetics and the value. We understand, like we would start doing things that were just out of the box. And we tell our colleagues to do it. Like, this is so stupid and so simple, but it works so effectively. And we tell our Care Aesthetic doctors, like, treat a staff member Monday morning, 30 minutes before you start work. So one day, Dr. Cantor was like, you know what, Rick, you know what I want to do? I said, what's that, Dr. Cantor? He's like, we got the banners up, we got this and that. You know what we're going to do next? Let's show up to work 30 minutes before we start. We start at 8 a.m. on Monday morning. Let's show up at 7:30. We're going to take one of the front desk ladies, the one that's in front of every single patient, all 30 patients. Let's do a big treatment on her. Let's get her bloody, little red, etc. Every patient that's going to walk through the door is then going to say, oh my God, Kelly, what did you do today? Why is your face so red? Were you like in the sun or what the heck happened? No, I just did this amazing treatment. It's all natural. It's like a upgraded vampire facial. I do it with Dr. Myron. He's treated a lot of our staff here in the office, blah, blah, blah. Conversation starter. You want to learn more? Here's a trifolder. And so, just little simple, stupid things like this that take literally 30 minutes. Just by doing this, every time we did it, we would bring in an extra 3 to 5 patients every week. Every time I do this on a Monday morning, 3 to 5 new biocare treatments booked that week. And, simple little tricks like that. We would have a loop. And the nice thing about joining Care Aesthetics, all the videos, all the content's already all created. You put a TV in your waiting room, you just play aesthetic stuff. Females will be glued to that video watching what is being done. Oh my God, I can't believe this practice is doing all these new exciting procedures, so on and so forth. Um, Another great one was just simply running an open house. We would do this on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, run it from, 5 or 6 to 8 p.m., have some wine and cheese, talk about the procedures. I would do a little 20-minute presentation. In fact, my entire presentation is available in the Care Aesthetic portal. A lot of our colleagues literally download exactly word for word what we said, and they just copy us now. And totally fine for me. Like I said, I'm just trying to help other people out. So that's a really, really good idea as well. And of course, the software. The ability of doing this with so many different clinics is we can build these amazing referral apps. We've done this with Repeat MD. This is a little bit more advanced, but just the packages, the software, everybody's on their phones all day long. They can download our Care Aesthetic app. They can refer friends, get $50 towards a service. There's all these benefits to these friend referrals, etc. So just advanced softwares that are used in high-end med spas. And now we've taken what these med spas are doing and bringing it to our dental practices, which has been very, very successful as well. So really exciting. Like I said, we're in February basically in a couple days, and we've got 256 clinics across the country. For those that would like to learn more, we have this book, and what I would recommend doing is if you just send your name, your address, and your email, and you put it in the text message, we will send you for free a copy of this book. And we would love for you guys to read it. We would love for people to join. My long-term personal goal is to have 1,000 dentists that are all partnered together, and we're really a strong player in aesthetics. Over the last 7 years, I've seen almost all state boards where some 7 years ago said, no, you're a dentist, you're not allowed to do facial aesthetics. Every year, the boards are allowing this. Facial aesthetics is now taught in 4 dental school and undergraduate dentistry. And when that happened, Boston University was the first one to do so. You can read about it online. That allowed, they started to say, well, hey, if I'm learning facial aesthetics in my undergrad dentistry, I should be able to do this. And the board started to say, okay, you can do it. And it's become more and more popular. There's still a few states that there are some restrictions. California is one of the tougher ones, but still possible to do it. We have all the know-how on how to operate and how to do that in your practice. So that's all something. And like I said, if you do want a copy of this book, please feel free, send your name, your address, and your email, and we'll send that to you. And then you guys can read that and you'll see kind of the story and how much money was being made in Dr. Canner's practice. So there's a lot of testimonials from some of our care doctors in the book as well. So you get to read from them. You can contact them. It's great. For those that are interested in joining any of our future facial aesthetics courses, if you go to our main website, purefedu.com, and specifically /facial for those that want to learn more about this. This course, this is a $500 discount code. That's the phone number and email. So you can maybe take a screenshot of this, and that will give you access to be able to take one of our future courses in facial aesthetics, which, I highly hope that, there's some of you guys that highly consider it. Like I said, I don't just do it because I want my courses to be more filled, but more so because it has such a huge impact on dental professionals. You can't imagine the amount of people that have come up to me years later after starting Care Aesthetics and said, man, this has made a big difference in my practice. This has extended my career. This has made going to my office fun again. It's given my whole team something to look forward to, even if it's just on Fridays, so I'll leave that there. And I don't know if there was any questions in the chat that need to be answered, but hopefully I'll see some of you guys in the future. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna clap since we have you all behind the curtain here. We cannot see you. But if you want to give a big round of applause, Thank you, Dr. Myron, so much. It's been it's been phenomenal. I I have to say, I've had the privilege of seeing you live, but also doing many webinars, and I have never in my life seen this people. These doctors are crazy. I think they'd fly tonight and come to the course tomorrow if they could. So but honestly, I don't know how Lauren has kept up with it. So, hey, friends, we still got a couple hundred people here. We'd love to do some questions. We're not, Dr. Myron needs his genius rest also, but we'll keep him for a little while. So I want to just say, I forgot to introduce Lauren earlier. Lauren, she's so good. There's two of her. Can you see that? But Lauren is actually, kind of the right hand, but she also and the left hand. She kind of the director of Care Aesthetics National. She has amazing experience. She's been to all Dr. Myron's courses, and whenever we need to, we just swap them out, and she can teach all the stuff. So I just want to say she's been here supporting you in the chat. You're inundating her with emails as well as your addresses. So I'm gonna, as you put in some questions, we will take a few questions. You can put them in the Q&A. You can put them in the chat. And Lauren, if you can just chat something again here, because I'm not sure if we can't see you because everyone's buried you with their addresses, or if for whatever reason you're stopped showing up. But I want to clarify a couple things as you put in your questions. Okay. So number one, Dr. Myron has on the screen here the very most significant first step. If you are new to Dr. Myron or you've heard about him, but you've never taken action on it, if you've taken every PRF course in the world except for his, not that there are any, okay, you should come to this course right here. So the first most important step is prfedu.com/facial. Lauren actually told me that the discount or the scholarship for being here tonight is actually $1,000. So I don't know. It'll be a surprise, whichever one it is, it'll be a surprise. But so you should register for the course. That's the most important action taking step. The second thing you can do is you can email info@care-aesthetics, that's aesthetics with an E, no other way to do it, .com. And if you email that, your name, address, you put it in the chat, you can email that. But also you can inquire about your area. Now we've had probably at least 24 cities that have been secured tonight just through the chat. So you can talk with Lauren. Now it's very busy between your schedule and hers. You're going to have to take action, find an opening, prioritize this, have a discovery call and to kind of walk through it. But again, if you've never been to a Myron course, a PRF EDU, you're going to have to do that anyhow to go through the orientation. The third thing that I want to mention is that if your area has been taken, don't be disappointed. I mean, yeah, it's kind of a sad day, but you can still learn all the skills. Okay, you can still learn all the skills. You still need the arsenal, and you never know. So we maybe will like you better than somebody else, but it's very important. Don't see obstacles, see opportunities. That is what tonight is all about. So I hope you're putting in a couple questions. I'm just talking for a few minutes while you put in a couple questions, and then I'll let Lauren, if you want, you can read through those. So I want to just bring this back to high level. Isn't it amazing how much Dr. Myron covered in 55 minutes, 50 minutes? It's so powerful. But I told you he would bring you clinical research, backstory, relevancy. He would show you the market opportunity. Then he would talk about implementation. He would give you real-time examples and procedures. And then he would move it all the way into business, into marketing, into a system. And he did all of that 360 degrees. And we could tell by the energy in the chat, off the charts. So I just want to say to you, and I'll say this at the end, but I want to say this. He said in every city in the country, I don't care how rural you are or how urban you are, okay? It's all relative. If you're rural, there's not much competition, and people want this, and they don't want to have to drive to the big city. If you're in a big city, there's plenty of people, so it doesn't matter how much competition. So again, don't see obstacles, see opportunities, okay? The second part of this is an investment, but unlike empty CE investments, unlike technology you have to sell people on your team, let alone your patients, or they come with six-figure price tags. This is an instant ROI investment. You already have the patients. They already have the blood. Okay. You already have the opportunities. They're sitting here. You just need the skills and the technology, okay, the system to be able to bring it to life. But Dr. Myron said something very powerful. Number one, it's the highest profit procedure you will ever do. Number two, the patients come back again and again. And instead of $150 cleaning, okay, they're doing a $1,500 or even up to $3,000 facial aesthetic procedure or protocol. Number three, okay, if you follow the Myron system, eventually somebody else will do all this. So how do you have higher profit, reoccurring revenue, and somebody else will do all the work? I mean, you have something that has never existed before, okay, in dentistry. So it's very special, but I will add a fourth one. It attracts the most valuable referrals. It gives patients something to talk about, and it enhances your aesthetic, your full arch, okay, your cosmetic smile, whatever. It enhances all those other things. It enhances your TMJ sleep practice. It enhances. So in addition to referral attractor, it's an enhancement. So this is amazing. You just, you got to do it. You can feel the energy. You can feel the momentum here, okay, for this opportunity. All right. I'm going to let Lauren in here. We're going to do a few questions. She can ask, or Dr. Maya, of course, can run through a few. And then we'll finish up with sort of two final, just exciting points for the year ahead.
I can definitely go through the questions quickly, Scott.
Sure.
So question here, can PRF be used for TMJ pain management? The answer is yes, absolutely. We have an entire course dedicated to that. That's taught by Dr. Cornell. A lot of literature in that space. Was actually just doing a conference talk with the oral surgeon this past literally 2-3 days ago during the weekend. Very, very hot topic. One of the hottest ones right now in dentistry. So that's a definite yes. What centrifuge machine is best to harvest PRF? So our team developed a lot of the BioPureF technology, so BIO-PureF, that was developed in Bern, Switzerland during my time there, as well as the BioHeat technology. There's one question about a display issue on the machine, just contact info@purefedu.com. How do you deal with plump, thinning lips, and how long does it last compared to fillers? Lips is really, just to be fully transparent, probably the only place where I still prefer to use real fillers. Everywhere else, I prefer biofillers under eyes, cheeks, etc. So you'll learn about, where to inject what, but lip fillers is not something that we do very frequently, and they're not the most, like these young people that are 20 years old that want bigger lips. This is not our ideal patient. I'm looking for the patient that's willing to spend $3,000 a year, that wants to look natural, doesn't want, plumpy lips, etc. But we teach all that in our courses. Are your courses offered for other healthcare providers? Absolutely. Probably 30% of the people that take our course are MDs, nurses, PAs. Of course, we cater to everybody. But if you do want to join Care Esthetics, then it's really specific to dentists. What I will say, including myself, when you get busy, or let's say you have a big dental practice, I hire a nurse practitioner. Again, it's fantastic. Nurses would love to work in a dental practice doing facial aesthetics as opposed to being in a hospital doing 12-hour overnight shifts. So we actually have 2 nurse practitioners and 2 nurses in my practice currently that do aesthetic services, just because I'm busy frequently in weekends and in my research lab. So 100%, I highly recommend even hiring nurses. And the whole Care Aesthetic step-by-step formula, there's actually one step where we actually recommend doing that. Do you need to buy a Fotona? Absolutely not. We actually recommend that people start with doing PureF, building up some momentum, getting some recurring revenue going. And then course number 2, that's in my office, where we talk about using lasers in PureF. There are some great lasers out there. Fotona certainly is one of them, but there are some better ones that exist specific to facial aesthetics. So it all depends on how you want to build your practice. If you happen to have a DECA, Fotona, or a laser already that does facial, by all means, use that one there. But if you don't have a laser, I would say wait to course number 2. We teach exactly how to do that. Got a lot of Just notes. I don't know, Lauren, if there's any other questions. What's the ideal depth for microneedling? Again, different areas of the face, depending on skin thickness, is different. Cheeks are thicker, so we go 1.5, 2 millimeters there. Forehead's a little bit thinner, so you'll learn that in the course too. So you'll learn the exact depths to use at different places. Restrictions in Pennsylvania, you just need a medical director. That's very easy. So we talk about how we can do that. It would be awesome to be a care provider in Nigeria. No problem. Send us an email. We're looking for people. So I would love to help you out there. I think that's pretty much answers all the questions here. So
Awesome. Good stuff. Wonderful things. Well, the bottom line is you're going to you'll get so much experience. I have to say, 22 years in dentistry, there was a comment in here. Actually, there were two comments in here. And I meant to read one of them, but somebody said Dr. Myron's Follow the Experts course was the most successful hands-on course he'd ever been to in his entire career. That was a chat from one of your colleagues tonight. And by the way, he's followed the experts course and he's here tonight. So, they wanted to keep learning more. So that's great. But also, I will just say, when Dr. Myron says they turn a conference room into a clinical, room, like it's like the real deal. Look, his team practice stays up the entire night. And I've seen it. And I've seen a lot of hands-on courses. Nobody does it this way. Literally every single doctor and team member in the room plays patient. And you literally get to practice and you go around to all the various stations. That's what we're talking about, real-time implementation. Okay. So you got your action steps. Get the book. That's great. It's the book plus the course. That's the magic. Okay. And then if you're ready to jump all in, you can certainly secure your care aesthetics area. No, we don't just hand them out to everybody on the street corner. So we have to, make sure that you're a good fit. Obviously, you have to go through the training, as Dr. Myron said, but we take it very seriously. You heard his goal. His goal is not to sell equipment, not to sell courses, although he will. Okay. His goal is a network of 1,000 ambitious collaborators who are doing facial aesthetics and PRF to help transform patients' lives. And by doing so, transform your practice and your life too. So, that's a mission. That is a bold movement. And I can tell you this, what I know about doctors is it's a lonely place back home on an island. But when you come together with a powerful network around the world, okay, and you belong to something greater than just your practice, that's a very special thing. And with that, you get a force multiplied effect of education, of knowledge, of experience, of progress, and you tap into so many things. So I just want to say, again, congratulations everyone for being here. Dr. Myron always leaves it all on the field. And I think you definitely got some great information tonight. But the information tonight is meant to be just inspiration for tomorrow. The point of tonight is not to leave here and go back to the way you were this morning. The point is for this to be a transformative moment in your life where you make a decision, an ambitious decision to move forward in your clinical evolution, to up-level your practice, and to bring something that will truly be transformational to your patients, that will fire up your team like never before, and that will be the ultimate differentiating factor inside of your practice than anything you could ever do. It is this. And so I will say to you, I have a saying, you can imagine. It says, losers live in limbo. Winners decide. Champions find ways to leverage other people's experience and resources, okay, to go all in, okay, on the future that they want to create. So I want you to do that tonight. If there were one thing you could do in 2025 that would not only make this the best and greatest year of your career, but set you on a trajectory for the future to reimagine and reinvent yourself and have you, which is, by the way, the most important part, more fired up and excited about what you're doing than ever before, it's this right here. So thank you, Dr. Myron, for another fascinating and exciting webinar and for sharing your passion and giving people the full story of where you've been, where you're at and where you can help take everyone. So we'll see you at prfedu.com/facial. Take advantage of special scholarship tonight. Email Lauren. A lot of people here tonight, a lot of great interest, which we expected. So be patient on our outreach, but you surely can jump the line and go all in here with us in 2025, and bring facial aesthetics to your practice. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.